Yo, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to the official Wall Gadget guide here on the channel. Now in this video, we are going to be covering 4 major points pertaining to the Wall Gadget. The first thing we're going to look at is placement. How you actually throw the walls down can determine a lot about how they're positioned and how they're rotated. The second point we're going to go over is overall functionality, which is going to really dive deep into how you can actually shoot out different parts of the wall to form a different type of structure other than the baseline wall structure that you get when just throwing it down regularly. The next thing we're going to look at are use cases for the Wall Gadget. Now this is going to dive into how you can actually use the Wall Gadget for different purposes, such as guarding yourself when you're defusing the bomb, or if you want to get just a little bit of extra height to open up a nasty angle. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to review some clips that I've gotten with the walls to break down exactly how I use them so that you guys can get a little bit smarter when you're using the Wall Gadget. All right, YouTube, so here we are actually in one of the maps for Fortnite Ballistic here, and we're going to talk about placement of the Wall Gadget. So as you guys can see here, when I go to throw down the Wall Gadget, it gives me a little bit of a preview as to which way the wall is actually going to face when I throw it down. But this can change depending on where I'm actually positioned to throw it. So if I look here and I put it down towards me, you can see the outlines of the walls on both the left and the right sides. This means that when I throw this down, the wall is literally going to go straight in front of me. It's not going to go left to right. It's going to go from behind me to in front of me. So you want to be very mindful when actually throwing these down, because you want to have an idea as to whether or not it's going to be completely horizontal, giving you a wall of cover for you to push up to certain areas, or if it's going to throw it completely vertically, like right in front of you, to where you're not going to have that much of an advantage to be able to push up relatively well with some good cover, right? Now, in order to actually place down the Wall Gadget to do exactly what you want it to do in certain situations, whether you want the wall fully horizontal to get a little bit more extra cover when you're pushing up, say, into this hallway, or if you want it more just straight in front of you, from behind you to in front, that's how the wall is going to fall down once you throw it. If you want that type of peak for the wall. Now, what if I told you guys that there's actually a method in the game for you guys to know exactly how your placement for the Wall Gadget is actually going to go down when you throw it? This really comes down to the left and right mouse buttons. Now, it's a little bit different on controller. However you throw the gadget, I would assume it's probably either R2 or L2 for how this goes. But basically what you want to do is, if you look here on the mouse button, the right mouse button shows the wall in a back to forward positioning, right? So the placement of this wall when I throw it down is going to be from behind me to in front of me, right? So if I do that and I let go, it is now a wall that is completely vertical, meaning it goes from right in front of me all the way to the front. This is not horizontal cover, so if I want to push up to a hallway or I want to push into a building, I'm not going to have anything to really work with here. However, if I do want that type of cover, if we look here back on the mouse placement and you look at the left mouse button, if I throw this down, it now shows the wall being a completely horizontal placement. So when I release the left mouse button, I now have the wall placement going completely from right to left. This gives me the exact wall placement that I need for a specific scenario. In this case, it would be perfect for pushing up to a hallway and needing that extra cover. So this is super important to remember exactly how you want these walls placed down, because it's going to be super beneficial for what you want to do, right? For pushing up, or for maybe playing a little bit of a different angle. Now, another thing that's super important to note is if I hold down the right and the left mouse button, it actually shows me a placement diagram of it being either right to left or from behind me to in front of me. If that's the case, it throws a completely random placement. So if you want a completely randomized placement, that wall could have been behind me to in front, or in this case, it was right to left. So again, it's completely randomized. That's if you press the right and the left mouse button at the same time. So it's a little bit interesting how the placement actually works for this Wall Gadget, but knowing and understanding how to use this is going to be absolutely fundamental to be able to throw these down and actually make plays, right? So if there's certain situations that you need to push up to a hallway, or you need to make a really nice angle or a really nice peak, that's going to be huge in knowing how to actually throw them down, right? Now, the other thing I want to talk about is actual rotation of the wall. So if you can see here, I want to throw a wall down on this box to get a little bit of extra height. And when I go to do that, if I'm holding the right mouse button, it is forming a diagram going back to front. That's all I'm going to have, but if I rotate my mouse and position it differently, I can actually position it how I want to, right? in this way, but it's a little bit funky. It can reposition depending on what you press, right? So in that case, if I want to hold the right mouse button and I release the right mouse button, it will then throw it down exactly how it's placed. But in that case, I press the right mouse button and the left. Again, it's going to be randomized, which is what you just saw, right? But in this case, again, you can get different angles for what you want. So if I hold down the left mouse button, this is a completely horizontal wall. I'm going to be able to see how the diagram changes, right? Let's see how the hologram changes based on my directioning. So I can see exactly where the wall is going to be placed, and say I want it right on the corner here, and I want to throw that down. That's going to give me exactly what I want for certain angles and certain height advantages, right? So it's really important to note how you're throwing these walls down, because again, you can rotate left and right, looking where you're going to throw these to get the exact placement of where that wall should be. So that way you're able to make certain jumps or fill certain gaps with these walls. Again, super important, super foundational for understanding how to best use walls in certain scenarios, whether that's gaining height or pushing up to certain hallways or certain objectives. Now that you guys understand placement of the walls and how to place them and how to use the different buttons to place them in different ways, we can now move on to overall functionality. How are walls used? What are they actually used for? How can they be used to their maximum potential? Now, just for basic things that I'm sure you guys all are aware of, walls can be used to block off certain entrances. This is going to force players on the other team to actually have to vault over, buying you a little bit of extra time to actually get the kill off when someone's trying to push through a hallway. At the same time, they can be used for various angles. So as you can see here, I have a direct angle all the way through the mid-cut here. If anyone jumps up on that, I'm going to be able to have a clear shot, and it's going to be very unexpected. And to go off of that, when throwing a wall, you can actually gain very, very unique head glitches in different spots on the map that are going to give you a pretty big advantage against the enemy, because if the enemy is unaware of where the wall is at, you're going to catch them off guard very quickly. So overall, you guys are going to be able to use walls to block off entry points, to get new lines of sight, to create insane head glitches to gain the advantage and the jump on your opponents. And again, some of this really does come down to finding really unique and thinking outside of the box, right? So for instance, on this spot here on Hammer Fall, if I throw this down and jump up, I'm going to be able to see right through this gated window. Now, this is going to be really hard for the opponents to actually shoot me off of this, and I'm going to have perfect lines of sight into window, into the main hallway here, and also on top heaven there over on B site. This spot, along with a lot of other spots on this map and the various other maps, are super advantageous for catching your opponents off guard and also being able to get at least 1 or 2 free kills per round that are really going to help shift the momentum for you and your team on actually winning the round. Now, another element of the wall is that you can actually change and alter the entire geometry of the wall here. So as you can see, I'm shooting out various parts of the wall to create windows into the other side, right? So as you can see here, I'm going to be creating so many different pockets for me to shoot through, and it's not just the top squares, it's actually these ones here as well. So being able to shoot out the actual geometry of the wall can open up so many different plays as well, right? So I can stand here and head glitch the corner. I can kind of play a little bit of a further back angle and get a crazy angle here on that. There's so many things that you could do with it, and this really does come down to experimentation and trying out different things to really understand, you know, how can I open up certain head peaks? How can I open up certain avenues, lines of sight to where I would be able to get the jump on my opponents, right? Because if you have multiple sections of the wall actually shot out, you're going to be able to really catch the opponent off guard, because the opponent's not going to be able to know who exactly is shooting out of different parts of the wall or where people are positioned outside of the wall to have those lines of sight. So you're going to be able to get the jump on your opponents very, very easily. And again, just to reiterate, you can shoot out various parts of the wall and you can actually use it as jump up points. You can use it to peek different angles if you want to. So here in this case, I'm able to peek B arch here or main door, depending on where I stand. You can also shoot out the bottom to get some nasty head peeks and some nasty angles as well from either close up or far. Now again, this really does come down to experimentation, finding some really interesting and intuitive ways to use these walls in certain scenarios, right? So if you want to create a completely different and new head peak where most of your body's actually covered, but you're going to be able to shoot over, this spot right here on Hammerfall is actually really, really good. So if I throw this down here, as you can see, if I shoot out, say, one of these top squares in this wall here, I can jump up, and I have a perfect head glitch on the far A-long spot where the attackers are going to be pushing down, right? So this spot right here is completely crazy. And so as you can see here, this just shows you kind of a very, very basic wall spot that can be used. But just take that example and extrapolate it out to all the other maps, all the other different angles. As you can see, the sky is the limit truly with what you can accomplish. It really just comes down to fully understanding how the wall works in terms of placement and how you can actually alter the geometry to give you exactly what you want and how you can actually use it to open up certain crazy angles and also just catch your opponents off guard almost every single time. Now, the next thing I want to cover are use cases for the actual wall gadget, what you're going to be using them for in-game for practical application. Now, the first thing I want to cover is actually height advantage. Now, you guys are going to see very quickly just how much height can really impact and swing around for the betterment of your team. Now, in this specific case, I am on Storm Chaser Cove, and I am actually on the attack pushing here towards B site. Now, here's something that's really interesting. When you're using walls, you got to understand that you are going to be pumping yourself up into the air for at least 2 blocks worth of height. So in this case, I already gained some height here on this midsection little fountain area or whatever this thing here is called in greens. When I place this down, this height actually gives me full visibility into the patio ramp up onto B site, the backside of B by these boxes, and if I jump, I can even see into pond. Now, this is super crucial, not even for getting kills on the actual site, but just for gathering intel of what's happening. So if you have one person that planted, they can plant far, you have full watch over the bomb, or in this case, you can continuously jump and gain insight for your team as to where people are pushing from. If somebody pushes into pond, you're going to be able to make that call out. Now, I'm going to show you 2 more examples where height is absolutely critical for actually changing the tide for you and your team here with using the wall gadget. And also, one of these, especially on this map, is actually going to kind of fall into the rotation use case as well. So if we can see here, I'm pushing the other site, here A site on Storm Chaser Cove. Now, a perfect example of this is if somebody plants the bomb here on A site, you're going to be able to get a crazy angle and a crazy line of sight by leveraging the top part of this wall that's been cut out. So if I throw a wall down right here, I'm able to jump up and actually have crazy visibility not only onto the site itself, but I also can see back into palms. So if anyone's pushing into palm way, or we have this little cubby area here as well, and I can even head glitch this area right here close to me. Super crucial and super beneficial for you and your team to cover essentially an entire site by just one angle. And I'm telling you guys, defenders are not going to be able to guess that you're up there and pre-fire that, at least at the very beginning, right? As people start to know these spots, maybe they'll start to be checked a little bit more by the enemy teams. But I'm telling you, even so, like, you're going to be able to catch them off guard in a big way. Now, the next one I wanted to show you really quickly is this part right here. You can actually rotate from A short into the center lobby with one wall. So as you can see here, the placement on my wall is like such. It actually cuts off that top angle. And for me, I'm actually going to have to shoot this out in order to get back up onto the box. But if you do this and you jump up onto your wall, you can actually make the jump over into the center lobby. Now, this is absolutely insane. This is going to catch your opponents off guard every single time. I swear barely anybody knows about that rotate. That is just a very quick tip for you guys, so you guys can catch your opponents off guard, right? Because if you have people flanking here through mid-cut back into greens, or back into grass, excuse me, you're going to be able to make that mid-cut rotation, and it's going to be a lot more quiet than somebody using impulse grenades. They're not going to expect it. I'm telling you guys, walls, there's so many applications that you can do. Trust me, guys, the sky is the limit. Now, the next application I wanted to talk to you guys about is actually the planting use case while using walls. Now, as you guys probably know, there's a lot of different applications that you guys can use when actually planting the bomb on a site. Now, a perfect example of this is just basically throwing it down to give you cover long enough for you to actually plant the bomb and also to kind of block off entryways. Again, you want to make it hard for your opponents to get onto site, and you also want to enable a lot of sound cues so you guys know kind of where the enemy's at, right? So if you hear a mantle cue, you guys know that they're jumping up either on one of your walls or a nearby box, and by cutting off the entire patio side here, for example, the only way that an enemy's going to be able to get over here is if they shoot it out or they mantle up. That's going to give you and your team a sound cue that's essentially going to be able to aid in figuring out where the enemies are, and you're going to be able to win the round and defend the bomb a lot faster. Again, defending the bomb, cutting off lines of sight, and also forcing the opponents into a mantling animation to give you those sound cues and to keep them from entering into the site. Huge use cases for using walls here on the objective. Now, the other thing to take note of is when you are actually planting the bomb, you can use the walls again, like we just covered, to cut off lines of sight, to cut off different entry points. That's also huge. But the other thing that you can do is when somebody comes along to try and defuse, you can actually use the walls to create a little bit of confusion. Now, if somebody comes to actually defuse, you can throw this down to elevate them up. This is going to completely cut off the diffuser's ability to actually defuse the bomb. Now, when you do that, you guys will notice that it actually cuts off the bottom two portions of the box's geometry, which means that it's going to be a lot harder, you know, for them to actually cut in and try to defuse the bomb. But as you can see there, it causes confusion. You're creating a lot more passageways that the enemy has to navigate through to actually go and defuse the bomb. And again, just to give you guys another, just a little bit of a practical application here, not only for using the walls for defense, but also the offense when you're planting the bomb. Is either have the bomb down, you're going to have an enemy that's going to be going to defuse it. And again, you're going to be able to use walls to your advantage to actually go and create angles and lines of sight for yourself, and also to prevent the enemy from defusing fully. So as you can see here, they're going to go over to defuse. I'm able to come up, have perfect lines of sight to completely kill them. And as you can see, it's a perfect use case. I also could have went and threw a wall down to elevate them up, to give them, to give also my teammates lines of sight into actually who's defusing the bomb. But again, those farther lines of sight that you're going to be able to create with walls are going to be super beneficial. Like I said, just practical use cases. The sky is truly the limit. Now, the last use case I want to talk to you guys about is actually using the walls to create a more aggressive playstyle for attacking your opponents, right? So as you can see here, I have an opponent that is on B site. He's throwing scans my way. If he does get a line of sight, I'm able to have the walls completely block his line of view into where I'm at. But then also, I see him peeking there. I'm going to be able to peek, throw another wall, jump out, and play a little bit more of an aggressive style. Now, right there, he had to adapt very quickly as to where my walls were going and where I am also positioning myself in that entire play-by-play, you know, attack that I was doing. Very, very interesting. Again, you can utilize walls to have an aggressive play style. You don't always have to play a little bit more passive and play back to play those wide angles. You can actually play up and play close. And now to give you guys another example here, when playing a more aggressive play style here in a 1v1 scenario, I'm using sound cues to figure out where my opponent's at. Again, he has scans, so he's got a little bit more of an advantage here. I'm playing very smart as to how I'm going to place this to try to get an angle. I can even shoot out part of my wall to create a little bit different geometry. I see him going down. I'm going to throw another wall here. He's jumping up. I'm able to use my wall as cover. And again, I'm able to just work around my wall entirely. If I didn't have a wall here, I'd be completely open and exposed. He would have full line of sight into where I'm at. Again, it creates confusion. It causes the enemy to have to adapt to where you are in relation to the wall and in relation to where they are also positioned, right? So it causes confusion and it allows you to make a lot of different plays that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to make. I'm telling you guys, once you learn how to use this gadget, you guys will be able to use this gadget to its maximum potential. Alright guys, now in the final part of the video, we are going to be reviewing clips that I've gotten with the Wall Gadget to show you guys exactly what I was thinking and how I planned on using the gadget in certain scenarios to effectively win the round. Now here in this first clip, I'm pushing on to B site here on Skyline 10. Now as we start pushing on here, I start getting a little bit of insight into where people are here on the map. I know that there's some people close. I go in, I get the kill off the challenge. I immediately place a wall down here at this section, which ultimately gives me a head glitch overseeing the entirety of the site. I have direct lines of sight right there into lower drywall, upper drywall, parking, and the flank on B long. As you can see here, I'm waiting for that flank. I'm able to actually finish it out and get the kill. Now, as you can see there, that wall right there got me 2 kills that completely shifted the momentum of that round for me and my team in our favor. We were able to win that because of that insane peak that I got just by using walls. Now, this second clip is one that I actually got in a tournament. And here, what I'm doing is I'm utilizing the wall gadget in a very smart and effective way to actually rotate from the backside B passage on B site on Hammerfall over to B arch because I know somebody's there due to a sound cue. So if you watch this, I'm able to place the wall, jump over this small portion of the roof, catch this opponent completely off guard, slide back out right, get that kill, slide in again, and I'm ultimately able to get that kill.
Chat, please clip that. Oh my gosh.
And be able to win the round for the team, chat. Like, it's actually insane how much walls can just completely turn around in your favor. It's absolutely insane. I was able to use that wall to vault over the wall, get a jump on the opponent, and ultimately get 2 more kills, right? But because by the time that opponent, that first guy that got eliminated, gives a call out that I'm there, I'm completely catching them off guard because I'm moving fast, and I'm able to use walls very quickly and effectively to rotate in unexpected ways. Now, this next one here actually shows an absolutely disgusting walls peak here on Cinderwatch. As you can see here, this wall allows me to see the entire midsection of Cinderwatch. I'm going to be able to catch people off guard coming out of the far mid-top section, coming out of A site, maybe to try to make a rotate through the midsection of the map, to rotate back into market, or to rotate through garden on over to B site. So as you can see here, man, I literally catch someone off guard. Someone passes through, and I'm able to use the walls to gain an insane height advantage, to gain a crazy line of sight right into the midsection of the map, ultimately giving me a crazy advantage, right? Nobody is going to expect that, especially if you've thrown down the wall and they don't hear the sound cue for it. They're not going to expect you up there. You're going to catch your opponents off guard every single time. And also, if you notice here, this peak also gives me full visibility into the backside of the map where opponents could be rotating back into market, right? So this section right here, they could rotate through here, rotate up behind you. I'm able to watch that entire flank and the mid-cut section all from this single wall spot. Now, this clip right here actually is a perfect example of how you can actually alter the wall's geometry to get an absolutely insane head peak to where you can ultimately get a crazy, crazy kill. So as you guys see here, I placed the wall, but I have this crazy idea. Again, the more you use walls, the more you're going to look at your environment differently, right? You're going to look at certain boxes, you're going to look at certain ledges, you're going to look at the height of things in your environment, and you're going to compare that to the height of the wall and how you can actually alter it to give you crazy peaks like this, right? It's a lot of thinking outside the box, and again, the sky is truly the limit. As you can see here,
gosh, chat.
I'm able to shoot out that midsection of that wall to give me just enough height to see right over the pink car and ultimately see my opponents immediately, right? Like, this peak is absolutely insane, and I guarantee you, if you're pre-aiming this, nobody's gonna expect it, right? Nobody's gonna expect it. Now, in this clip here, I actually use walls to make a very aggressive push onto A site here in K-Zone Commons. As you can see, I'm using the walls to gain a height advantage, basically allowing me to overlook over the entirety of A site. As you can see here, this opponent is completely caught off guard. He has no idea that I have this line of sight. I'm able to pop on over, kill him immediately. I can peek the A main section. I also have direct visibility over into Subway, where I actually see a guy right here, and I know that he's going to come out, so I pre-aim that angle. I'm able to get that kill. Me and my team are then able to push off of those 2 free kills to gain full control of the site, and now it's just a 3v1, right? We push all the way in, we're able to get that kill and ultimately defuse, winning us the round. And in the final clip review here for the video, I'm going to be showing you guys how you can think ahead and use walls to your advantage. So in this case, it is a 1v2 scenario. The bomb has now been planted on B site, and I know that the last two opponents are going to be rotating into the site in some way. Now, I chose this position as opposed to sitting in a corner on site, as opposed to pushing up to drywall, waiting for them to push in, or sitting in parking. I chose this specific location because I'm fully aware that the window up here is something that I can completely use with the Wall Gadget to look through in case they defuse, right? So the location that I actually chose to plant the bomb was so purposefully done because I know that my plan of attack is to plant in an area that I have full visibility with from that window, that I can then use walls to my advantage, right? That they're not going to expect, to essentially catch them off guard, right? So I'm starting to get sound cues from those opponents that are pushing now onto the site. I hear one that's pushing close, so I know he's probably going to come around the corner here. He actually ends up throwing a wall himself, trying to play a little bit of a more aggressive play style towards me. Now, in his case, the wall didn't really place how he wanted it to place. If this would have cut off the entire line of sight here, I literally would have had to mantle over to try to get this kill. But lucky for me, he missed through it, and I was able to find a gap there where I just killed him instantly. And now I get the cue that the enemy is defusing, and now I know, okay, I know exactly where he is. He's right on the bomb, defusing. I'm going to be able to utilize a Wall Gadget to gain the height advantage. And as you see, I have perfect visibility right into where the guy is, defusing on the bomb, and I'm able to get that kill nice and easy and without any problem. So as you guys could tell, the Wall Gadget is, in my opinion, one of the most unique and fun gadgets to use in the game. If you guys can master them, I truly promise you the sky is the limit and you're gonna have a lot of fun along the way. If you guys did enjoy the full guide video today on the Wall Gadget, please make sure to smash that thumbs up and subscribe. I really do appreciate all the love and support. Make sure to use code TRIUMPHFN in the Fortnite item shop, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.